And the jocularity needs to come to an end here, and we will all rise for the invocation and the pledge. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your graciousness in our first responders during our recent storm. We thank you for your grace in the fact that no one in Grand Traverse County was seriously injured. And we greatly appreciate the opportunity we have had recently for fellowship as a board. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bonnie, roll call, please.
Lathrop,
Here.
Kropa,
Here.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Klaus,
Here.
Crawford, here, Johnson,
Here.
Max Bauer.
Here. Next on our agenda is approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, they stand approved. This is our first opportunity for public comment. Bonnie, if you would read the rules, please.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. A, any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. B, no person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
Is there anyone who wishes to make public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to approval of the agenda. I have several items that I would like to add to the agenda, please. One is a storm update. Mr. Byrd is here regarding the Central Dispatch Next Generation 911 project, and I would like him to update the county board as to the status of the emergency response. The next item I would like to add is...
Where are you putting that?
I'm going to just add that to Central Dispatch,
Okay.
item number 2, and that way Mr. Byrd, who puts in very many long hours these days, can go home. I would also like to add under new business, thank you notes from the Board of Commissioners, the administrator selection process, a joint city-county board dam meeting, and that's it. And with those changes, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So move.
Second?
Moved by Dr. Lathrop, supported by Commissioner Crawford. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. We have an agenda. Bonnie, consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. Number 1, Planning Commission minutes of June 16th, 2015. 2, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority minutes of June 24th. 3, Veterans Services minutes of June 25th. 4, Grand Traverse County Department of Human Services Board minutes of June 26th. 5, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health minutes of July 16th. 6, Grand Traverse County Commission on Aging minutes of July 21st. 7, correspondence of July 28, 2015 regarding House Bill 4642, Veterans. B, approvals. The Public Health and Safety Committee recommends approval of the following. 8, Commission on Aging lawnmower purchase. 9, fiscal year 2015 Emergency Management Performance Grant. 10, Grand Traverse County Communications Christine Erickson. The Resource Management and Administration Committee recommends approval of the following. 11, Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians request for trust acquisition of land in Garfield Township, parcel 85. The Ways and Means Committee recommends approval of the following. 12, Fleet Vehicle for Environmental Health. 13, Management Software Boards and Committees. 14, Budget Adjustments.
Would any member of the public like to pull anything from the consent calendar? Any member of the board? Staff? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent
Chairman, I
calendar.
would move to approve the consent calendar as provided.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Klaus. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. We have no special orders of business. We have no items removed from the consent calendar. Next on our agenda, department action items, Circuit Court Administration, furniture purchase.
We have
Go ahead.
Terry Quinn, the Circuit Court Administrator, is here. We're asking for your approval to purchase office furniture for the Circuit Court Administration offices. The request is for $21,435.09. The pricing or the vendor is an approved vendor with the state of Michigan, which means that they've gone through a formal bid process and they have a state contract. And with that, I'll turn it over to Terry.
The reason that I'm here today is in our 2015 budget process, we requested new office furniture for our cubicles for our staff. We have 10 workstations that need upgrading. We did the front panels about 7 years ago, and this is for new work surfaces and overhead bins. It's pretty simple.
Is there a motion?
I have a question.
We would like to have a motion before we have discussion.
I'm not going to make a motion then. Till I get the answer.
Is there a motion?
I would move that we authorize for purchase of office furniture for the 13th Circuit Court using the state contract in the amount of $21,435.09.
I'll second it.
Moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Commissioner Lathrop. Commissioner Kropa, you have the floor.
So this is just like the 911 radio project, using a state-approved vendor?
Well, yes, but it's not just like this is for considerably less money. But I do want to comment about that process a little bit more, because there has been some concern expressed by a number of commissioners. You know, this is the vendor, in this case, it's Interphase. They have, there's multiple things that they have to do to be on or to be approved for a state contract. But one is they register, and then they await or look for opportunities depending on whatever, you know, good or service they provide. So they have to go through a formal bid process against other vendors with the state of Michigan, and if they're competitive in their bid, they're awarded a contract with the state. So it basically would follow the same procedures that we would follow if we bid this out, but the state is doing that for us, and that's why we have the provision in our purchasing policy to rely on a state contract, and that's what we're doing here. We don't have to, you know, we could bid this out, but the state has already done that for us. So yes, it's similar to what we had done with the Motorola contract.
Dr. Lathrop.
This is in your budget, right? It's not,
It is.
okay, good. I like that.
I like it too.
I don't know why I'm raising my hand. I'm the chair. I'm sorry. Terry, did you explore local vendors for this?
We did not. We went with a state-approved vendor with Interphase.
You did not explore local?
Interface is a local company.
It
They
is?
have a they have a local facility.
That's all I needed to hear.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? Dr. Johnson and then Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, I was just going to say that at some point I would like to review some of this stuff that's already in their budget, why it even comes to us personally. You know, if the budget was already approved to include this furniture purchase, I think it's a,
The reason that I'm here today is our purchasing policy says that if it's over a dollar
Yeah.
amount, that we need to come to the board.
I know, and I think we need to, I don't know, like I said, to me, it's kind of redundant if the board already approved the budget, and if that was in the budget to do that, but.
I tend to agree. Commissioner Wheelock.
Terry, I'm assuming that Obviously, this equipment isn't all trash, so we're going to have the opportunity to recycle that, or is the vendor offering us a trade on some of that equipment? Some of these companies will offer trade on that equipment when you upgrade.
This is not a trade opportunity, but we send everything to the storage facility. And when we need new workstations or chairs or anything, we go to the storage facility to see what we can find.
Anyone else? All right, we have a motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next on our agenda, resource recovery. That would be Susie Shipman. I see her in the back.
Yeah, I was happy to see her back there.
I'm glad she made it today. She's been overworked recently.
She been in the woods?
She's been in the woods.
In the weeds.
And in the brush
Good
pile.
evening, Susie Shipman, Resource Recovery Manager.
Not sure that mic is turned on.
Tap the mic. I think it is on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like it is.
Maybe a little higher, that's better.
Hey,
That's
there it
better.
is.
So I'm here tonight to make a request to draft and enter into contract with Elmer's Crane and Dozer for wood and brush grinding and removal services at Keystone Brush Site on Keystone Road. The proposal in front of you is for grinding at $6.25 per cubic yard for up to 7,000 cubic yards within 2015 at a cost not to exceed $43,750. Currently, in the resource recovery budget, let me get the right page here. We have budgeted for this service $22,320. So I'd be requesting some additional funds from the board to get through 2015. Now, we didn't grind last year for a few different reasons, and so looking at the funds that came in last year, we actually were a net of $21,000 for the Keystone Brush Site for last year. So essentially, the money that was unspent last year, I'm asking to spend this year, and we didn't have grinding last year. The other part of the contract would be for the balance of a 3-year term, so 2016 and 2017. And the volumes going into those years would be for more like around 2,500 to 3,000 cubic yards of material, rather than this large amount that has accumulated over 2.5 years or so, and also a large influx of material that came from the storm. The pricing for Elmer's Crane and Dozer is $6.50 for 2016 and $6.75 for 2017. So any budget requests would reflect that estimated volume and that pricing.
All right, is there a motion? Commissioner Wheelock.
Madam Chairman, I would move to authorize a contract with Elmer's Crane and Dozer for brush grinding at the Keystone Drop-Off Facility.
Is there support? Supported by Dr. Johnson. Discussion. Commissioner Kropa, then Commissioner Wheelock.
Have we used Elmer's before for this?
I don't believe we have used Elmer's. We've used American Waste previously. They have bid
Before we
previously.
used American Waste.
Okay, see?
There's a significant change in price between the two. Elmer's is half of American
Commissioner
Waste.
Kropa, could you move your microphone? Thank you.
I was eating tacos here earlier, and I had to move it.
And you spared us the crunching, okay.
It was true. That's a true story. Half the cost here. I'm always hesitant on a low bidder, always. I'm curious if we've used them before for this, and if there was any insight as to why they would be half the cost of the people we had used before.
The previous pricing was at $5.25, $5.25 per cubic yard, and that was in place for many years. So I think Elmer's looked back at their previous bids and added in a little extra, but it does look like a low bidder here, but at the same time, seeing actually recently the Elmer's operation as part of that state contract with the storm management, I'm confident in them as a contractor. They've been excellent to work with on the ground from what I've seen. So I don't have any hesitations about them as a contractor, and we've used them before. It's a local company, they're well-known.
Commissioner Wheelock.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the fact that, if my memory was right, the Elmer's contract was 3 years prior to the one that American Waste had. I think American Waste had 12, 13, and 14. and we didn't end up grinding in 13, or in 14.
In 14, yeah.
And prior to that, Elmer's grounded, but I was thinking it was just about $5 or just a little under. So that's probably about right. And, I did notice the difference in price between the American Waste contract bid and the Elmer's bid. Elmer's has historically, other than, I believe, the only 3-year contract that American Waste had was the previous 3 years. I'm not positive of that,
Previous to
but
that, it was all Elmer.
the last contract was with American Waste, but prior to that, we had Elmer's grind the brush in this facility for us.
Commissioner Klaus.
Is this brush that gets dropped off without collecting fees and then we grind it? Or do people pay to drop brush off?
They pay, the tipping fees are $5 a cubic yard or $1 per bag of yard waste size bags. So there is a tipping fee, and our budget for that was $25,000 for revenue for this year. And we've actually already exceeded that, so we're having a pretty good revenue.
So we've received enough money to grind it up then?
Well, not to cover that full amount that I'm requesting for this year, but between this year and last year.
Last year, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Johnson.
Well, you have a lot more stuff to probably grind with the storm and everything, but I agree with Commissioner Krupa that, usually that's a red flag.
It's a red flag in my line of
when
work,
it's that
which is
short,
the
but
solid
Elmer's
work.
has I think, a awesome
They're a stellar
reputation in this
reputation.
community, so
I think I was insinuating that maybe they were providing a different service or scope of service.
No, it
because
it does make you look to see, is it the same amount of service, but with this case, I'm comfortable with what's.
Anyone else?
We will have to make a budget amendment to cover the contract at this amount, but as Susie has indicated, there are funds within this fund to cover that, and because we didn't expend the funds for grinding last year, it won't impact the fund to any great extent, and the revenues are exceeding what we budgeted. So one comment that we're at the 7,000 cubic yards, that's our best estimate of what's there, and at some point when Susie is working with them, we may want to complete the cleanup of the pile, but we just don't know if that's 7,000 cubic yards or 8,000 cubic yards, and I think that would be our intent, is to maybe take care of the entire pile if we can.
Commissioner Wheelock.
I was going to note that the last time we did this, after we'd skipped a couple years, we significantly underestimated the volume of the pile, and the bill was quite a bit bigger than we have. But I would also note that Resource Recovery is one of our departments that has a trust and agency account, and we have a fund balance in that account too. So it's going to be a matter of whether we're going to take this funding from general fund or whether we take it from the fund balance.
Anyone
I know
else?
Susie would prefer it comes from general funds. But.
Commissioner Kropa.
The Keystone drop-off site was the first line of drop-off after the storm, when obviously we changed and went to the other sites. And the 3 main townships had issued no-charge yard waste passes, so we didn't receive revenue or tipping fees for some of this.
We will. The townships do pay for those passes at the rate that
At the same rate?
the drop-off is established at for tipping fees.
So none of this would be, I guess where I'm going is none of this is eligible for storm reimbursement.
Because we've taken fees,
Because
yeah.
we took fees. Okay, I wasn't certain
As far
if the
as I know.
townships were not paying for that, so.
Yeah. It's advertised as a no charge. It's no charge to the residents, so it's really a service that those townships are providing for the residents.
Well, technically, the residents are funding the townships. and the
exactly,
townships are- Nothing is free.
Yeah.
Nothing is free, but I thought possibly there was an in there for some sort of reimbursement type funding, but no.
Anyone else? Here, Dr. Lathrop.
Before it's too late, I want to thank you, Susie, for providing, using the county to get the brush cleanup on Old Mission Peninsula. If it weren't for you, it wouldn't have gotten done. Nice job.
Thank you, it's my pleasure. I'm a resident out there too, so you can see the need as you
And
drive home and to
Before
work.
you leave, Susie, do you have anyone to cover East
We
Bay
do.
tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, just
we're good
checking.
for tomorrow, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, we're good through tomorrow, Saturday, and looking at our last 2 days on Tuesday and Thursday. So.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you, Susie. Next on our agenda, Central Dispatch, Next Generation 911 Projects. Jason Torrey,
Jason Torrey with
followed
911.
closely by Mr. Byrd.
Submitted the agenda item. It outlines what we're here to do tonight. Want to provide updates on our project list and to request the immediate approval for the purchase of the Entrado Viper telephone and the NICE Inform logging recording systems. As part of this, these upgrades, in May, this board approved both of these projects and authorized us to enter into contract negotiations. We have been doing that. We have revised the scope of work over the past 60, 70 days, whatever it's been, to make sure that the pieces to the puzzle all fit together with the other pieces. We got a lot going on in 911. The system as a whole, as you know, is being overhauled. And in the next gen 911 environment, it's important that you make sure the integration pieces are in place. So our technical consultant, Eric Seeley, is here. He can provide a slightly more detailed update on each of those projects or answer any questions you might have. I do want to highlight the fact that Eric, he brings a level of expertise in 911, networking, next generation 911 concepts. He regularly attends our monthly 911 region meetings, and that's at no charge to Grand Traverse County or any of those other entities. He's been very valuable in making this happen and going through this planning process. So looking forward, he's going to be involved in the implementation, and I just want to make sure that you understand how important that is to us. A couple other things before I ask Eric to come up. I know you're probably curious about the 911 outage that we had. I did send an email to the 911 Board of Directors indicating exactly how that happened to the level of knowledge that I had then. I can provide a more detailed update tonight in that AT&T experienced a trunking issue. Our phone system was intact. Our power was up and running. The UPS and the generator that we have that's going to get replaced, thank God, did run. So we were uninterrupted in that capacity. Our radios were working. Our phone system was working. So we were able to field non-emergency calls, but we were not able to field 911 calls. You should also know that the weather warning from the Gaylord office did not register through the normal channels until 3 minutes after we started getting inundated with all the Leelanau County calls, because they were compromised. Their 911 service was also compromised. So we were well into taking 911 calls before we knew that we had a major weather event occurring. So our dispatch staff, some of them that were off duty recognized this. They came in. I didn't have to call them. 3 of them came in unprovoked. They knew, they recognized the severity of the situation. They came in, they manned a position. By the time I got there, they were completely full. We were taking calls from CCE at that point over the 800 megahertz system, statewide 7-channel. So we were in constant communication with them. They were fielding our calls, trained dispatchers, relaying that information back over the 800 megahertz MPSCS system. I was taking that and distributing it to our staff, who is doing a great job managing all that. So it's actually more difficult to manage it that way than it would be simply take it ourselves, right? But I want to touch on the fact that AT&T's system, as we've used it and known it for the last 40 years, they've really never done anything to improve that. And they continue to demonstrate that they don't want anything to do with the 911 system. They put Band-Aids on things, and that's what we're trying to get away from. So we appreciate your support going through this process. This is exactly why we want to do this. This is exactly why the UP got away from all their troubles on these CAMA trunks, and exactly why they have had a completely uninterrupted 911 system for the last 20 months. Prior to that, they had 6 outages, I think in 4 months, one lasted 16 hours. Okay? Any questions on the outage, the 911 system?
No?
Just thank you.
And
you.
please thank you, the staff that came in voluntarily.
Yes,
didn't have to do that.
They called me, I'm almost here. Okay, great, because they
Yeah.
recognize that they're great people and they do a hell of a job, so I appreciate it. And there's real quick on the 800 megahertz radio project. Chairman Max Bauer signed all the documents. We've got all those submitted. We've got the Motorola PO cut. We're going to sign our first check to them. I actually went station to station, unit by unit, to validate the needs of each department so that I could come back to you and with a surety that we are doing exactly what we need to and no more. All the departments and the public safety officials are being very responsible about it, and we're looking forward to making it happen. So we appreciate your support. Going to have Eric come up, just touch on these projects, give a quick update, and then we'll ask for that approval on those telephone system and log and recorder.
All right. Eric?
Eric Seeley with Empiric Solutions. Touch a little bit more on the outage that you guys had down here, because I live about a half mile from CCE, which is where all of your 911 calls went. They have actually 9 positions where they can actually take telephone calls. They had 16 dispatchers working that day at different times throughout that day, because they were taking calls, and then they had people on the radio radioing down, as Jason mentioned, to relay that information to you. So as fragile as the current system is and the outage that AT&T had, the backup system still worked. This was an impressive show of teamwork, cooperation between these dispatch centers. And kudos to those people that came in on their own, that weren't really obligated to come in contractually, but everybody came together to make this happen. And I do need to mention, just to remind people, it was Kalkaska, Grand Traverse, and Leelanau that lost 911 service due to that AT&T outage. The interesting thing is, Kalkaska and Leelanau, you are their backup. Well, how well did that work? It actually worked well in that those calls were able to be rerouted to CCE, and that means that the public still had 911. Now, there was the request to minimize those calls, but they still had 911 service, so they still were reaching trained dispatchers. So that's a cool thing, and Greg's going to be able to touch more probably on how they were impacted by all of that. I'd like to give you a little update as well on the NG 911 services from PFN. There are monthly meetings that are taking place. Those are telephone conference calls that are taking place with the key players in that. I'm playing a part in that because it's not just you, but I've got other clients in that mix. And so we're progressing toward that. I don't know when that construction will take place. That's still a little bit of a moving target. But they're hoping to have fiber into this building well before the snow flies. Deadlines right now, it's looking like March, April, depending on which county we're in. But I think you guys are right now March 29th. That date's going to move a little bit, but that's when you would be converting over to NextGen 911 from PFN. So that ball is moving as well, and again, I'm participating in those meetings and not charging any of you guys for that. That's just a part of that service. So there are a lot of things that are coming with that in terms of regional things, these meetings that we're in monthly with the dispatch centers throughout this region. Everyone is talking about, okay, once PFN is in place, how can we start sharing resources? What can we do? And an interesting thing I want to bring up is when I last spoke to you, one of the comments, I think was from Commissioner Krupa, is that you were an end-of-life county, and that kind of struck home with her. Well, you have now been looked at as a leader because of the Viper and the Entrado Viper solution that you're looking at, and the multi-node that we're putting together with CCE. That is now being looked at very closely by some of these other dispatch centers. How can they do that? How can they do what you are doing? So kudos to you for moving forward in that direction. I'm going to stop there for a second, just see if there are any questions, and then we can get into the Entrado Viper if you do have questions on that.
As a general rule, we have a motion before we
Okay.
have questions. Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I would move to authorize the purchase of the Entrado Viper phone system as outlined by the Central Dispatch Director.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Kropa. Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, and this is more of a technical question, I guess, if you will, because you mentioned the fiber optics. What time of year are they going to be splicing that, and does the cold weather really affect if you're doing outside? Are they able to
They can
put it in a facility where they can keep it heated?
Yeah, the way that that fiber is put into the ground, if it's underground, is there are, even aerial or underground, there are enough service loops where they can actually bring that into a heated vehicle.
Okay.
And those splicing companies, yeah, they don't want to work out in the cold either.
No,
so.
I've just seen where I work, when it's real cold and we try to do fiber splicing, the quality's degraded greatly, so.
right.
And you may not find it for a while, so.
Right, yeah.
I don't see any others.
I'll take,
I'm sorry, Commissioner Klaus.
when I went through the quote for the Viper system, or for the 2465 for that quote,
Yes.
the numbers don't add up to the total.
They have maintenance on there. I went through and
No,
added those up,
the-
and they did add up, so.
I went through it 3 times, and I may have made the same mistake. but
Okay. Is their summary too high or too low from the numbers?
$27 high.
$27 high, okay.
And I noticed also the maintenance summary, that's not part of it. So are we going to be looking at a maintenance later on for $161,650, or is that part of it?
There will be ongoing maintenance with that, Jason, if you want to speak to that as far as how that
Which
fits in
we'll
your
be paying
budget.
extra for?
Well, I can tell you that I did account for that as an increase in the budget for next year, because we did project that we'd have maintenance costs associated
So all of this
with
was
that.
in that budget that you provided
Yes,
us?
yep.
And
Yeah, the maintenance costs included for the next generation systems are generally higher. We did recognize that as part of the initial quote from Entrado, and then I did incorporate that into the budget.
Oh, okay, so later on, then we'll be seeing it coming back
But,
up again?
yeah, we pay maintenance on what we had now, it's just going to be an increase in that maintenance.
Okay.
Dr. Johnson.
Was that the prepaid 5-year? I thought I saw in there the prepaid
Right,
Those
5-year.
were options.
5 years, right.
Yeah, you have the single year, then, or the option to do a prepaid 5-year.
Right, yeah. And when you prepay, you can pick up 1 year free on 2 of the items.
But let me speak to that real quick. We did opt to go with a 1-year plan, so that, and Eric will speak on this in a moment, the multi-node environment can kind of develop, and that's a partnership with CCE, so that we can mirror these systems against each other and essentially create a redundant 911 system between the 2 dispatch centers. And at that time, we thought we'd come back to the table and renegotiate the maintenance and hopefully reduce that cost as we work together.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I could speak to the cost here. There's actually a change. The number that is in front of you, the $167,022, we had a revision come through today. I had a question that I submitted last Friday in reviewing this after it had been put into your packet. And they did find that they had duplicated 2 components on that. So there's a roughly $6,000 difference. So the new number on the quote that we received today is $160,745.35. So that's a minor correction that, well, major correction, but a correction that you need to note. So the motion should actually list that new number.
Say that number again?
$160,745.35.
Okay, is the maker of the motion, he's nodding, supporter, is she nodding that she will, okay, we have 2 nodders.
Does the motion give you what you need, Jason? I know that there's 2 contracts in here, but that is all encompassed by the Viper.
No.
They're separate purchases.
So we're doing 2 separate motions then, and, okay, just wanted to make sure.
May I speak to that? Because I don't know that we want you to do a motion on the second contract today, or do we want to? How do you want to handle that?
Let me clarify.
Yeah.
What we're asking for is an approval on Phase 1 of the Entrado Viper system.
Okay.
We did note in there that there's a Phase 2 component to that, which I just spoke to regarding the multi-node environment. That would be a development later. We wanted to include that as an informational piece for now, because we don't know for sure that that's exactly what it's going to look like, but it's roughly $19,000. That would be something that, together, CCE and Grand Traverse County can look at probably in the spring, and probably after we get through with the PFN deployment, et cetera.
It'll need to be before that, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, this will be first quarter next year.
Okay, so Phase 1 of Entrado Viper is what we need today, is what we're asking for. Phase 2 is what I just described, sometime as Eric said, and then the other purchase will be the Nice Inform logging recorder system.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, can I clear maybe for Bonnie's benefit, I'll restate my motion. to
That would
say
be nice. Thank you, Commissioner
To
Wheelock.
authorize the purchase of the Phase 1 Viper system in the amount of $160,745.35.
And Commissioner Croppa does support.
Jason's nodding, so I'm nodding too.
All right.
It's a nodding night.
Additional discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Oh, I just thought of something. Wasn't it for immediate approval? Oh, we're at the
We're
end
at
of the
the
board
beginning.
meeting. Oh, okay.
You're as bad as I am.
Well, I
I'm
remember
raising
he
my hand and I'm the
specifically said
chair. like,
Immediate approval,
okay.
and I always
consent
try to
calendar is it
remember
gonna
that.
go
Yeah. Hey, it's the month
Thank
end.
you, Eric. Thank you, Jason.
All right, we need a motion on that.
Madam Chairman, I would move to enter into a contract with Van Belkamp to provide the Nice Inform professional logging recorder as proposed in the quote in the amount of $47,951.40.
Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Croppa. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Never answered.
Next on our central dispatch, unexpected agenda item is Mr. Greg Bird. Thank you, Greg, for coming this evening.
Sure. Greg Bird, Emergency Management Coordinator for Grand Traverse County. First, since Jason's here and went first, I was scheduled to do the walkthrough while he was trying to get a few days away, and because of this little storm, we had to postpone, but I know Jason didn't plan on factoring that into his schedule, but he was able to walk through that and get an accurate count, and I appreciate the assistance as we were over our head. But anyway, it's great having a good partner within Central Dispatch and working together to get done what we need to get done, so I appreciate that, and his staff performed above and beyond. So just give you an update on where we are in the storm this week. Today is basically the last day of all the state asset work crews that we have in the county. We kind of pushed through to identify and work through all of our life safety issues. So they're all being redeployed to Leelanau County, and we have been, to my knowledge, successful in eliminating all of the life safety issues, not only in the public right-of-ways, but in our parklands, municipal parklands, et cetera. I'll touch on county roads with some right-of-way stuff, as I had an update from Mr. Cook this morning, unless he wants to speak on his own, but it's fine. So the only state asset that'll remain is the contractor, which is Elmer's, doing debris reduction. They finished up at Skegamog Point Road last night at 7 o'clock, or we closed that private property site last night to request of the property owner, and they finished removing debris there this afternoon, we believe. And that operation is now being moved to the city's emergency debris. It was not open to the public, but where they dumped all their storm debris at their snow removal site on Airport Access Road. And they've started actually doing debris reduction there today. So we still have one site that remains open on a limited basis out on Rasho Road. Susie's done an amazing job organizing all the debris removal sites and the management. I will tell you, it has been a struggle for all of us to get volunteers out there in this week and moving into next week. So that's been one of the challenges that is a driving force on how often this site is open and how long we can continue to operate there. And with that being said, the calls from citizens putting the emphasis on they need a place to take their debris is I think I took 26 calls today in the 7 hours I was actually sitting at my desk. So there'll be a fine line that we discuss with that Rasho Road site moving forward through that. So as I said, all known public safety issues have been taken care of in the county. That's public right-of-ways, leaners over park trails, open spaces, cemeteries that we know of with the help of state resources and county contracts that has been cleared to our knowledge. Traverse City still has some 12 sidewalk issues where trees kind of popped up sidewalks that they're going through, and they've done a great job of marking them, and there's no repair. They have to pull the sidewalk out and they have to report it. So they're working those issues. And County Roads is still working some leaning tree issues over the right-of-way, every time the wind blows, Jim's crew's out on the weekends we had, last Sunday, your crew went out 12 times, or the Sunday before on 12 more down trees. And they still have a little bit of right-of-way cleanup to do in Eastern County. They're expected to be complete with that task by next Wednesday. We still have some very large down trees that simply our contractors and our work crews can't remove. A perfect example I think everybody sees is at the end of Division Street and the Parkway, right there by West End Beach, that huge tree that's blown over, and that's going to require crane or logging type material. And there's a few of them. We have a natural area in Whitewater Township that literally you can't get down to the trail to the water. It's just completely decimated. And even with an excavator and a front end loader and chainsaw crews, it's going to take loggers to get in there and open that trail back up. Fortunately, it's not a hugely attended wildlife area, but that will be a consideration moving forward for a public area. We're still working on getting another VOAD group to come into Grand Traverse County. I had a late call this afternoon from the Michigan VOAD director to try and get somebody like Team Rubicon to redeploy here, because we have between 20 and 30 citizens that still need that assistance with tree and debris removal from private property, whether or not we're successful or not. But that's still a remaining issue that I'm hopeful to get some redeployment, even if we're into late September, early October. That'll give our citizens without the ability to take care of it on their own some help in that area. So that's still a remaining issue. Today, the USDA announced their emergency conservation program for farmers that provides grants for debris removal. So if we have orchards, particular orchards, apple orchards that have lost trees and need help with debris removal, that program is available. I can certainly forward the bulletin from there that went out today from the storm. So that's eligible. They'll begin sign up on the 21st. So they began sign up on the 21st and it ends October 19th. It was really nice to connect with USDA. Nobody thinks emergency management works with the USDA, but in these situations, they have a whole different side of things. They weren't really aware that we had a governor's declaration that'll help them go to the Secretary of Agriculture in the United States and hopefully get some more assistance into our farmers. So that's a good partnership to have. Starting to work with finance as well as the municipalities to compile expenditures. We honestly don't know. There has been no talk of any funding yet coming in. Repeat that for the public. No guarantee funding. We have not received monies from the state or federal government. But even if that's not available, it's still good that we have an idea of how much we expended in overtime and resources and contracts for the storm. Luckily, there is a format to follow. And we met with Dean and Sherry from Finance earlier and just kind of went over what format to use and how we can keep track of it, that if something presents itself that we're kind of on target and ahead of the ballgame. So, and finally, there's no word on any FEMA survey coming here yet or state disaster funding, but that's still hopefully a topic of conversation that's occurring at the state level. So whereas we're getting back to a sense of normalcy, there is some issues that we're still currently working on, and we will continue to work on probably through the fall and maybe into the winter. So, any questions?
Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, and I'm sure it's probably too late in the process for this now, but, you know, maybe in the future for your plan, and if it's possible to hire outside help to man the brush sites, you know, that way that, because just getting people to volunteers.
It's not too late.
I mean, no matter what you do anyway in the community, it's tough to get people to volunteer.
Correct.
But so that may be something you might want to look at, and you know, I don't know what the county policy is on that or anything, but you would think in an emergency like that we could hire someone temporarily for a couple of weeks or whatever. So
That is an after action going forward. It's not too late actually, but there's also that fine line of how long we need to keep them open or how long we're going to keep them open. One of the plans I had not got to yet, simply because we had to do the support plans and the EOP and the hazard mitigation plan, was a debris management plan. So we've lived it, and we're going to go back and write it. And one thing we know is when we write that plan, we'll know it's functional, and we'll know where we need to make these things going forward and identify more sites like we have at Rasho, and where we're going to get workforce to manage these. So that is up on the priority list on the dry erase board. It never gets blank anymore. Any other questions?
Anyone else? Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, Administration Finance. Dean.
First item is I'm asking for approval of the August 2015 claims in the amount of $14,204,699.16.
Commissioner Coropa,
I'll make the motion.
Support.
supported by Commissioner Wheelock. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item number 2, refunding Blair Township Sewer System Improvement Bonds.
Okay, I don't want to rush through this, and I know that this is the first time that you've had a refunding for, at least with the new board members. And if you have your packet, I'd like to take just a brief moment and look at the Blair Township resolution, which in a nutshell kind of explains what we're doing here. This is on page 91, and the Blair Township has approved this. Actually, it started with them, but if you look at the whereases on page 91, which is the first page of their resolution, when we sell bonds, and these were bonds that were sold for sewer improvements in the township, those bonds are purchased by financial institutions, and they bid on the bonds, and we award the bonds to the lowest interest rates. And, these are bonds that extend out into the future, and there's no guarantee on what the rates are. And basically what's happened, we're in a very low interest period environment, and we're able to issue new bonds and realize lower interest costs as a result of a new bond issue, and that's basically what we're doing. The township wants to realize those savings by issuing a new bond, and that's what the bond is called. It's a refunding bond. It's a bond issue to pay off the current bond issue. So the township has approved their resolution. It then went to the Board of Public Works. The Board of Public Works has approved it, and the final step in the process is for the county board to approve the refunding bonds. Now, if you can go back to page 81, you'll note that this is a preliminary analysis, because until we actually sell the bonds, we're projecting what the bonds would sell for and what those interest rates would be. And the other item to note here is that Blair Township, if you get down towards the bottom 1/3 of this analysis, they're putting in almost $670,000. They have funds in their sewer improvement fund that they're paying towards this to help pay off the bond issue, so that they're borrowing less with the new bonds. And we've done that a couple of times with our own bonds. But then if you look at page 82, you can see the interest rate on that we're expecting to realize on the new bond issue versus the interest rate that we're paying on the current bonds on page 84, and you can see quite a difference. And that adds up or creates the savings that are identified on page 81. The cash savings, over $300,000 we're estimating, and that's real money. Now, when you do the present value calculation, that takes, in the time, the value of money over time, and there's still a significant savings from doing that. So I am asking for your approval of Blair's request to refund the bonds, and there's a resolution that's attached, which, it's pretty wordy, but it would be what's required. And there's two resolutions, because when we issue any bonds, there's continuing disclosure requirements. So the first resolution addresses that. That's something that the treasurer and I do on a regular basis for all of our outstanding bond issues. And then there's the separate resolution authorizing the issuance of the refunding bonds not to exceed $2,950,000. And with that, I will do my best to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, we'll begin with a motion. Is there a motion? Commissioner Kropa?
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution approving the undertaking to provide continuing disclosure and approve the resolution to authorize the issuance of the refunding bonds not to exceed $2,950,000.
Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Crawford.
Dean, do you need that as two resolutions, or two motions?
We should probably have it as two separate motions.
Then I will take off the second one, and we'll just leave it at the first for right now.
All right.
I'm good with that.
All righty. Discussion. Commissioner Kropa.
Just a refresher as to why the county is involved in this process, and do we incur any costs or potential liability from it?
The county has a contract with Blair Township. The county is involved primarily because of our credit rating. We are the best credit. And, when you look at Blair Township, I'm not knocking the township. We have, obviously, our full faith and credit we can put behind the bonds, but it's because of our credit rating. The township is able to go to the market and secure the best or the lowest interest rates by having the county.
We're just an agent.
We're an agent. We have a contract. The township, Blair Township, is ultimately responsible. The risk to the county is minimal here because of the contracts that are in place.
And the cost to the county is time from your office?
I spent about an hour and a half. There's an economic update that we have to do. We're currently not charging the township for that, but it's minimal. The requirements to, do the continuing disclosure, we do that all electronically. So our time involvement is minimal.
Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, this isn't the first time we've issued bonds for townships, and we've done them for a number of townships. We also do them for Munson Hospital and other organizations in our community because the county's bond rating.
We just did it with the roads, didn't we? Wasn't that Acme?
Yeah, we just
We did the
issued-
road funding
Yeah.
for Acme Township. We sold Acme, or road bonds. Dean, the only question I had is, do we see any reduction on the special assessment for this sewage on the parcel of property that the land bank holds? Can we derive any savings on that? As commissioners may know, Grand Traverse County holds a 70-acre parcel in Blair Township that has a significant special assessment on it for this sewer project. And that's been one of our key problems with trying to sell this property for development.
I can tell you that in my discussions with Heidi Sheppy, the treasurer, we both support this refunding for that very reason, because it does help the township manage that property and that special assessment. So, I mean, they're looking at this to realize the savings and just, it helps address that issue.
All right.
Connie and I had a meeting, was that in like January or February? And didn't Pat say that the Blair Township Sewer Fund would be depleted by like 2019 or 2020 at the current rate going along with that land bank property? It was something like $1.6 million that they're carrying on this property. It was supposed to be a water park, so
The
that's.
assessment's
Yeah.
$687,000 or something like that.
And then, but he said something about Blair their fund would be depleted, I'm trying to remember, it was probably 6 months ago.
There is a point that their fund balance, if you will, from the water and sewer fund would be depleted. But at that meeting, we also talked about the opportunity would be available this fall to refund those bonds.
Right, so this is gonna
And with
help
this
that,
rate-
right?
With this rate
Yeah.
lower, it's going to make a significant difference for Blair
It
Township.
should help Blair Township, I would think, significantly.
Yeah, we've actually looked at this almost annually. With any bond issue, there's only certain periods of time over the life of the bond issue, the original, that you can call or refund. Last year, for whatever reason, we didn't consider the refunding, but I think they were trying to accumulate some resources within their funds, and
Said
you can see.
600,000 that
Well,
they're
and
kicking
that's
in
why
this year.
I pointed that out. I mean, that's a significant contribution for them to make. And they're paying down
Yeah.
the debt and also refunding the debt to realize the interest savings. So, it's something that will help them with that property and the special assessments that are associated. So, good.
Any additional discussion? All right, we have a motion and support on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution to authorize the issuance of the refunding bonds not to exceed $2,950,000.
Second?
Moved by Commissioner Coropa, supported by Commissioner Crawford. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. All right. Next on the agenda, old unfinished business, Duck Lake Level Control Study. Commissioner McKellier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I made the assumption, Kevin McElligott, your County Drain Commissioner, pleased to be here tonight. I made the assumption that Civil Counsel Chris Forsyth would be here to explain the resolution in your packet relative to the Duck Lake study. But
I will call upon Mr. Cooney.
Yeah, essentially, you've already approved the going ahead with establishment of a special assessment district for Duck Lake. Part of that was engaging a professional engineer to do a study to determine who benefits from the special assessment district and to provide a report. We had a little bit of trouble as far as the report addressing all the concerns that we had, so there was a little bit of delay there. We asked the engineer to supplement this report with additional details. That's been done. We're satisfied with the report, and the next step in the process is for our office to file a petition with the Circuit Court to establish both the lake level and the special assessment district. Once that's been done, that will include providing notices to all of the affected property owners so that they may appear in court. They can contest the lake level or the special assessment district. There will be a meeting, at least one meeting, to try to address any citizens' concerns about this. If the court does establish both the lake level and the special assessment district, the Drain Commissioner will be called upon to determine what the fees will be for that district, and then it's up to this board to approve whatever the assessment is going to be, and those assessments appear on their local tax bills and have to be taken out of on their tax bills. So anyway, that's essentially what the process is here. The resolution does several things. It asks you to give our office permission to initiate the petition in Circuit Court to set the lake level and to create the special assessment district, and also to assess costs against the special assessment district. Now, the county board could decide that they want to pay for it themselves, but you also have the option of assessing it to the special assessment district, which I think is the more common method of doing that. That would include the cost of the engineer and the cost of the legal bills. We have also asked that you, as part of the resolution, that you allow the county to retain Scott Howard to assist in establishment of the special assessment district. The way I view this is there are some matters that are I guess not necessarily beyond our expertise in our office, but Scott Howard can usually supply answers a lot quicker than we might be able to research those. It's definitely a savings of time for us to be able to consult with Scott Howard. Also, I do have a concern that if there were a significant number of appeals in this case, people contesting the special assessment district or the lake level district, that could become time-consuming, and I can't afford to have Chris Forsythe or myself tied up with this one project. Now, most of the time, I think these things, there's not a lot of dispute. We're talking about a very small amount of money being assessed against the property owners in this case. I know back in 2012, we were talking about numbers of less than $20.
Correct.
For a property owner per year. So, so I don't know how that's going to play out, but we wanted to at least have the ability to contract with outside counsel, and Olson Bisdock has substantial experience in this area, and it's a local law firm. So, for those reasons, I would recommend approval of the resolution.
Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the Drain Commissioner, the Duck Lake determination of special assessment district, and initiate proceedings for determining normal inland lake level and establishing special assessment district.
I'll support. Discussion, Commissioner Wheelock.
Kevin, one of the things that we've had a discussion about this before, originally, when the original special assessment district for the Duck Lake Dam, if I recall, it only addressed those people that had water frontage. And like on Duck Lake Peninsula, there's a large portion of that property that didn't have water frontage, and they were not assessed. Are they being assessed in this assessment role?
Slight correction. There were people that did not have water frontage. They had deeded access, and they were also assessed.
Okay.
Okay. There was a look. We found a group, an island of properties that did not have deeded access, and we thought about pulling them out of the assessment district. And now we're revisiting that, and we're looking at a third tier. So,
I just remember that when we looked at Duck Lake Peninsula, there was a group of people that were assessed, and then there was another group of people who were not being assessed.
Yep.
But yet, they're still protected by the fact that if the water gets high, they're going to have the same issues, so.
The short answer, anyone benefiting from the lake level management will receive an assessment to offset that benefit.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next on the agenda is new business, Michigan Airport Jobs and Infrastructure Coalition. I brought this to the county board. I was contacted by email by Mr. Ben Gardner, who was talking about revenue being diverted that truly is intended for airports in the state of Michigan. And I contacted Commissioner Johnson, who is our representative on the Airport Commission, and he referred me to Kevin Klein, who, as you all know, is the director of our Cherry Capital Airport. I asked Chris Kramer to give you all a copy of the correspondence that I had from Kevin, and I want you all to know that I am meeting Thursday with a representative from Delta Airlines on this very subject. I, of course, would defer to Commissioner Johnson and Kevin Klein as to whether or not the Grand Traverse County Board chooses to join this coalition. I'm told by, as you can see, Kevin Klein, that it is important for us to be a partner in this. But I wanted to give you all an update as to the communication that's going back and forth between me and this coalition that is trying to secure funding for airports in the state of Michigan as they were intended to be funded. So as I gather more information, you will have that in your packet. This is just a first update for you all. And hopefully you have no questions, because at this particular time, I don't have any answers. I'm just, I just want to keep you all abreast of what's going on in my communications. All right, new business, number one is thank yous. I would appreciate, and I don't need a vote for this from the county board, but I would appreciate that the county board would entrust me to write some thank you notes. We certainly owe a debt of thanks to Team Rubicon. We owe a debt of thanks to the Salvation Army, who has been feeding Team Rubicon and our DOC crews, et cetera, et cetera. We owe a debt of gratitude to the Red Cross, And I would like head nods, please, that I may write thank you notes on behalf of the county board. Thank you very much.
I would also include the Michigan Department of Corrections because they didn't have to bring the teams from Pugsley.
Yes, and quite honestly, close to the end, before I would send it to the governor, I would present it to you all, but I do think we owe the governor a thank you note as well. Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, and also, we've had many county employees that stepped up
We
above
certainly
and
have.
beyond, so let's make sure they get properly.
I'm going to do my best.
Do our best
and
not to miss anyone.
Yeah, I mean, even the behind-the-scenes people that had to do extra work because the other people were helping. So the whole county employees, they all did their part and above to help with this situation, so.
All right, thank you all.
Don't
And
forget CCE also. They took over all of our calls.
I'm not going to remember all of these, so it would be helpful to me if you would.
Redbird is working on a project regarding this, and before you write the thank yous, I would recommend
Check his
getting in
list.
touch with him.
He has a good list.
Good.
Well, and not just that, he has an idea for a symbolic type of thank you that he's been working on that's in his budget.
I just didn't want it to escape us,
So-
and I appreciate that, and I certainly will work
Everybody
with...
gets a free thing of wood that.
Yes, everybody gets to come and take a log
You all
home.
get a log.
Pay somebody to whittle eagle sets or something.
All right, the administrator process. As you all know, the deadline for applicants was August 25th. I made one telephone call, and it was this afternoon to Commissioner Crawford, and I said, I think that we all need to individually go in by Wednesday and take a look at the applicants and read each applicant's application. And she said, oh, Wednesday, I can do it Wednesday morning. And I appreciate that comment, Commissioner Crawford, because I got to thinking about it. And you know, I really do think that to do this thoughtfully, we ought to give ourselves at least a week, at least. And what I'm going to suggest as step one in the process is that individually, we go into the HR department and keep in mind that the postmark date was August 25th. So we have to allow for snail mail in the event someone has used snail mail to send an application. But what I'm going to suggest is that we all go in and we make a list of our choices. I don't care if it's one choice. I don't care if you've got 3 favorites. I don't care if you like all 20 of them. But write down a list of the applicants that you like, and then bring that number and the names to a board meeting, and we will, from there, discuss what our next steps are, Commissioner Crawford.
I like that. I would propose, though, that the resumes and applications be numbered so that when we come and discuss it, we are not revealing names who may not have wanted to be revealed yet.
All right, I think
If
that's...
they would be numbered and we could come with our top 5, I like number 1, number 8, number
Okay.
whatever.
Sounds-
That would kind of keep it the confidential manner that we
Yeah,
had decided on.
typically, just before the deadline or just before it's made known that these names are going to be made public, sometimes applicants have second thoughts, and they say, well, you know, I think I'm just going to stay in my job right here and I'm going to withdraw rather than have my name be made public. And yes, I agree with that. Dr. Lathrop.
I was wondering if we could do this, and Paul said she'd be willing to do it, is have copies of all those made for us, and she said she could have...
No, because if we have copies of them, it's all, everything is, we have to go into the HR office, I think, and read them.
Well,
Let me refer to our attorney,
okay,
may
well,
I?
Let me finish, though.
Please do.
Okay. That way, we could come and pick up the copies on Friday, take them home over the weekend, read them all, study them, and make our choices. Paula thought that would be okay. And they're going to be FOIA'd anyway by the Record Eagle.
They have been.
Yeah, so it's going to be a matter of public knowledge anyway. The names, everything.
The applications that were specifically requested to be confidential were not provided to the Record Eagle.
Okay. So...
But the board was notified that that FOIA request had been received. So-
The names were redacted on that, though, wasn't it? Or no?
I thought the names and
Names.
addresses were redacted.
The personal identifying information,
Right.
that's kind of a term of art in FOIA. That doesn't include names. What that includes is date of birth, driver's license numbers, things like that. That information was redacted. But what FOIA allows us to do is to protect the confidentiality that's specifically been requested by the applicant. Mr. Menzel's was not considered to be
Let's not go there. Dr. Johnson.
Well, what I was going to say, I mean, yeah, I mean, at some point, it's just a timing issue, but
It is.
even if they wanted to, line out the applicant's name and any identifying information, where you could just have a number, and then we could go with that, I'm fine with that, too. It'd be a little more convenient, but either way, I'm fine.
I mean, I'm fine with not knowing the names. I don't need to know the names. I want to look at the qualifications and the application. I don't need to know the names. That's just me.
I should
Bob?
clarify that there's been some back and forth with the FOIA request in this case, and those applications haven't actually gone out yet.
Bob, what would you recommend in order to preserve the confidentiality that some applicants have requested?
Well,
I want...
just the fact that the commissioners receive their own copy of the applications,
Yes.
that doesn't change the FOIA law as far as we can
Okay.
deny a request for those applications only if confidentiality was specifically requested.
Okay,
It's
so...
my understanding most of them did not request confidentiality.
All right, but some did, and I want to respect that.
Yes.
All right.
I don't know how many.
Okay, so are we okay with
Are we-
everybody getting
are we
their own
talk-
copy?
Are we talking about 15?
19.
There's 19.
I'm not sure about the rest of you, but I tend to like the idea that Dan's talking about in my world, trying to figure out how I'm going to come in here and
19.
actually
All right,
give
that's fine.
due process to reading 19.
That's why we're having the discussion.
19 applications, one right after the other. In my
Okay.
world, I won't remember what number 3 said compared to what
I'm-
number 9 said.
That's fine. I am meeting with Paula tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. I will make the request that Friday, after the mail is delivered, because it's possible, snail mail could stick a few applicants in there, that those applications are made available to each individual commissioner in a packet with their name on it.
And-
Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, I know it's happened to us lately at the Legion Post, because I send out all the bills, that mail has been moving real slow across town if you put it in.
But at
So
least
if something comes in afterwards that's still postmarked,
Yeah,
there is a
it's-
chance that we could have another applicant or two. So
There
just
is
keep
always
in
that
mind.
possibility, but at least it'll give us a head start. We'll have the applications available to us Friday afternoon for a week.
Can the applications be put in a sealed envelope and put in our mailboxes at the county? But
Quite honestly, I hate to say this, but I don't trust that.
you would prefer that we
I
personally
prefer
pick them
that
up
you
at the HR
personally
department?
pick up your own envelope, your own sealed envelope
At the HR department.
at the HR department. That's just my preference. Dr. Lathrop?
And then, could you have Paula number them? I do want their names on there.
Yeah, fine.
And then I'd like to have them numbered, though. So
I
we'll
will-
have it-
I will ask her to
So
do that.
Johnny Jump Up applies, we all know him as number 1.
Number 1. Johnny Jump Up is number 1.
Okay, and then, that way we can do the numbers if we want to.
Sally Jump Up is number 2.
Well, do we intend to discuss actual applications at the board meeting on Wednesday?
Do we think we are going to be ready to do that? What I was planning on doing is asking, as I just said, asking each individual commissioner to pick his or her
Right, we'll bring a
top
list with
applicants.
us, but,
And, I mean, if most of us have only 5, then guess what? We're going to interview 5.
so you,
If
but
we
what
all
I'm
have the
saying
same
is,
5.
how would we find out
True.
without?
Well, we will discuss it in a, yes, we will
bring.
bring it, we will bring
My
it.
top 5 are.
We will
this.
bring it to Public Health and
Okay.
Safety, and we will say, I will say, I've got 7. Dan will say I've got 2. Sonny will say I've got 10. And as a board together, we will decide how many applicants that we want to interview, and we will compare how many of us have number 1, Johnny Jump Up, number 2, Sally Jump Up,
So we're
et
making a
cetera, et
list
cetera.
of who we would like to see go through to the interview
Yes,
stage.
yes.
Okay.
That is what we are doing.
Hey, I just want to follow the directions.
This is my suggestion. If someone has a better idea, and I've heard one from Carol already, let's number the applicants. I'm
So we
open
can
to
do that,
suggestions.
And then we will discuss that next week, and then that will give an idea of whether we're
And we
moving
can,
forward with the committee
we
or
can go
something.
forward from there.
Okay.
Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, and basically what we'll do at Public Health and Safety is I'll have Chris create us a tally sheet. Number 1.
Okay, that makes
You know,
sense.
1, 2, 3, 5 of us like to see interview number 1. Number 2, there's only one person that cares, and, you know.
Yeah, I
down
mean,
the
if
line,
only, yeah, if somebody wants, if only one commissioner wants applicant number 12, well, I don't think we're going to be talking to applicant number 12.
Right, but we'll just create a tally sheet for them.
Yes.
And then at Public Health and Safety, we'll put that on the agenda. We'll talk about the administrator.
And there's no limit at all. If I would
There
like
is
to
no
interview all
limit.
19.
If you want to
If
interview
you
all
want
19
to,
of
no,
them.
I don't want to limit any commissioner at all, not right now. I think this is too important, and I want every voice to be heard.
And
if
Paula
it's-
is in agreement with this scenario.
She will be tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
She's listening right now, you guys, so she might have some good ideas too about this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay? Are we all set with the administration process? Okay. Moving on to the fun-filled subject of the dam removal, river restoration, whatever you want to call it. I would like to sooner rather than later, and I mean as soon as possible, to request a joint meeting with the City Commission. We have a memorandum of understanding with the city and with the Grand Traverse Band to partner in the removal of the dams. And I believe that it is time for us as a board to sit down with the City Commission and hear from them, and for them to hear from us what we envision that partnership to be. I can tell you right now that I envision that partnership to be financial. I do not believe that Grand Traverse County, the county board, entered into this memorandum of understanding with the idea that we, Grand Traverse County, was going to fund the entire river restoration project. The city of Traverse City has, according to Dean, when I spoke with him, received $5.7 million of grant funding to take out the Brown Bridge. We still continue to struggle for funds for the Boardman and for Sabin. And there is also the reconstruction or reconfiguration, whatever you want to call it, of the Cass Road, the Cass Dam in the city. And I believe that now is the time to have a discussion with the City Commission. If we are going to plan, if we are going to look at options available to us, and I will say right now that one of our options is to not remove that dam. One of our options is to simply fix the spillway. According to the documents that I have read and still have, the option to simply fix the spillway at Boardman Dam was $2.6 million. This was back in 2009. To actually remove that dam was $7.1. The county board chose river restoration, but we chose river restoration, upon my memory, based upon the fact that we were going to have partners. And we need to ask our partners, one of whom is the city of Traverse City, how they envision that partnership to work. So, with your permission, I would like to request, and I will request it of the mayor and the city manager tomorrow, if I have your approval, that we have a joint meeting at our earliest opportunity with the City Commission.
I believe the third partner in that memorandum of understanding was the Grand Traverse Band. I'd like to have them invited also.
I am absolutely in agreement that we can invite the Grand Traverse Band. I will tell you that the Grand Traverse Band has been working diligently to secure funds for the river restoration.
If we're just going to have
And
an open public forum of the three partners, we should invite them to
And
participate.
I will absolutely do that. But I really do believe the discussion is going to be concentrated between the Grand Traverse County Board and the City Commission. Dr. Lathrop.
Question to Bob, does this memorandum of understanding have any legal components to it?
Well, you know, I think what might be a good idea is for this board to ask my office to prepare a legal memorandum to address that issue.
You know, and I'm absolutely on board with that, but I prefer to do this in a friendly, cooperative manner. Yes, it's good to know, as far as the county board is concerned, you know, is there a legal obligation, or is it just a moral obligation? Yes, that's good for us to know, but I really do prefer to move forward in a cooperative manner. And I think the first step is sitting down with the City Commission and saying, are you still committed to this project? And if you are still committed to this project, what do you believe your commitment should be? I can tell you right now, I believe their commitment should be funding, some funding. We are going to be funding this project out of general fund dollars. With your permission, I will make that request tomorrow of the city manager and the mayor that we have a joint meeting. Are we all okay with this? I'm seeing 6 head nods. I can go with that. All
Just to
right.
let you know, too, it's not 7.1, it's now 8.1 million.
Actually, I have new numbers today.
Yeah.
But I did
It's going
meet-
up every week.
Just so you know, I met with Amy Beyer and Kim at the Conservation Resource Alliance today, and I received an update on funding and on numbers, and I asked them to come prepared to a joint meeting with a formula, some recommendation as to what they believe would be fair, because all I'm asking for is for everyone to be fair in this. I do not want the entire burden to be on the backs of the Grand Traverse County Board's general fund. And I shouldn't even say boards. It's the Grand Traverse County taxpayers' general fund. It's not the board's general fund. Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, while we're talking about the dams, at the implementation team meeting, there was some discussion about having CRA come. We have 5 Wednesdays next month, and kind of give us another update.
I have an update
but-
for that.
Okay.
All right.
And I am so sorry. That's my next, moving on to our scheduled September 23rd meeting that was supposed to be the subject of the dams. I was told this morning by Chris Kramer that the Army Corps is unable to attend. I have also been told by CRA that they have pertinent information that we really do need to hear if we are going to have a thorough knowledge, a complete presentation to the board regarding dam removal. So, I have asked Chris Kramer to get in touch with the Army Corps and see if we can't piggyback onto one of our other September meetings. I do not want this to wait. I want to move this forward. I want this project settled certainly as we approach the 2016 budget. I really do believe that we have a fiscal responsibility to know what we're facing. And to make a decision whether or not we want to continue down this road based upon whether or not we are facing this financial challenge alone or not. Commissioner Kropa.
2 points. First of all, the DEQ is a critical player in this. I would like, I've read the letter, I've read a lot of things on the dams. It all blends together. The DEQ, the minimal requirements would be very helpful for us to have that in actual writing, not just someone's opinion on what it is, but
I
something
agree.
from the DEQ would be very helpful. And another thing, I'm just going to say it because I'm the one that says these things all the time. I think we need to kind of cut some stuff out here. I refuse to come to a meeting that's another unicorn and rainbow tap dancing about river restoration PowerPoint. I'm just kind of done with that. I get
I am
it.
too.
It's awesome. I love it. We love the river. We get it. The question is, can we afford it?
What can we afford?
What can we afford?
And what partners
So
do we
a
have?
presentation by the people that are being hired to raise funds doesn't interest me.
I hear you.
The DEQ interests me, the Army Corps interests me.
I hear you.
I would like to hear some actual numbers. I don't want to hear about singing songs and holding hands anymore.
I hear you. I do.
So, you know, I'm not interested in attending a meeting where we're just gonna watch them tell us, because I think we all agree. Stop it. We all like the, we all like the Boardman River. We all support the river restoration. I, more than most people, have a real sincere interest in that. But that's not what we're talking about. And when our board moves forward to ask for sacrifices from our citizens on programs and services and our employees, the idea of funding a river restoration blows my mind. And if no one else is going to say it, I'm going to say it. We need to know our minimal requirements and move forward from there.
I'm working on it, Commissioner Kropa, as many people over the last 3 days have heard me say. We are going to be able to make some informed decisions, and we need to make them quickly, moving forward as a board. Dr. Lathrop.
Okay, let's pretend that we do decide to not change the course of the river, do the minimal things. Can we do that? Does this board have the power to do that?
It's our dam,
Or are
and yes, we do.
committed to
We aren't,
former board
no,
members?
we can, we may, as a board, choose simply to fix the spillways. We have that option. It is much less expensive. I'm not suggesting that we do that. I'm suggesting we get some information that we can make an educated decision on, and part of that decision-making process is going to be hearing from the City Commission and whether or not the city is willing to truly partner with us financially.
And
That's what
and the
I'm
tribe,
asking.
too.
The tribe is participating financially,
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure you're going to hear exactly that from the tribe. I heard it this afternoon, so
The tribe has been a very active part of this from
Yes.
the beginning, and I certainly acknowledge their participation. What I said is if we're going
Yes,
to have a
and I
discussion
agree
of the
with
memo
that.
of understanding, they are
Yes.
the third partner,
They are.
they should be invited.
we will invite them, Commissioner Wheelock, and thank you for that.
Grand Traverse County is obligated to its citizens' safety. So the DEQ issued a letter to the county concerned about the safety of the dams. And at that point, Grand Traverse County, and of course the city of Traverse City, being their dam, Brown Bridge, had to make a decision. What do we do to make this safe for our citizens? Do we repair it to a point where it's considered safe, or do we remove it? It was one of the two, and obviously, as we know which decision was made. But our obligation is to the safety of the citizens, and to me, that has to do with the DEQ and what their requirements are for the state to allow it.
I've been told so many things over
I
the
know.
last week as I've been really digging into this. I need to hear from representatives personally, but quite honestly, I want to see it in writing.
Yeah,
I
the
want-
DEQ needs to give us something in writing.
I want what we can and cannot do presented to this board in writing. And it's time. We have been given misinformation. Sonny and I sat in a meeting, and we were told that we could use the critical bridge grant money towards Army Corps matching funds. We were misinformed. I have to tell you, I'm sitting here, I do not want that to happen again, and I'm pretty sure Commissioner Wheelock doesn't want to have that happen again. And I know the rest of you do not want to have that happen again. We need to hear exactly what our requirements are, what they're going to cost, and how much, if any, our funding partners are willing to contribute. And then we can make an informed decision and plan accordingly.
In order to get this many players in the room, and as short a notice, I mean, we'll need to obviously work together as quickly as we can in finding a day. I know Bob's got a real difficult schedule now with his new job.
Sundays seem to work well for him.
That's when you get the city commission and overtime too.
I couldn't help that.
That is,
Some of
it
us
is.
get a little punchy is all they
Yeah. It is critical to have the DEQ there, and we know the state doesn't work on Sunday. but,
Isn't that the truth?
Another thing that's important to note as we're discussing this is, I don't, and I said this after you left the township meeting last night, I feel it's important to mention that we are not neglecting the safety of our citizens.
No, we're not. Absolutely
I very
not.
much believe in the road commission and their ability to make sure that the crossing on top of the Boardman Dam is safe, or they certainly wouldn't have that road open. And we are not at mass critical DEFCON 5 with the dams. However, the letter did state 2012. So yes, there's an urgency of timeline, but I think it's really important to say, first of all, we're not dragging our feet, but if it appears it does, it's because
I'm
we have
not
been
dragging
assured of
feet
the safety
anymore.
of
I've been
the
dragging
dams.
feet long enough. I'm not dragging feet anymore. We need to be able to plan. If I've heard nothing else from this board, it's we want to be able to plan. And I've heard you all, loud and clear. Anyone else? Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, I said a few meetings ago that one of my concerns is I think we're going above and beyond what we have to. And not to take anything away from what, CRA and the whole group has done, because they've done a wonderful job. But that's a lot of money to try to raise.
It is.
And, I didn't follow it, since its inception. So it seems to me like the mission creep on that has really
It is.
gotten big. And I think we do need to know what is the minimum level we have to do and work from there. Because we've got a finite amount of money that we're going to have available for this, so.
I agree. Okay, so I will, tomorrow morning, request a formal meeting, and I will invite the Grand Traverse Band. Okay, thank you very much. This is our second opportunity for public comment. As Commissioner
Overwhelming.
Crawford skulls at her husband sitting in the audience.
No,
People run to the podium.
move on.
Moving on. Seeing none. Commissioner reports. Commissioner Kropa.
First of all, met with Senator Gary Peters, who I think is sick of hearing about the dams, but I appreciated the opportunity. Also talked with Congressman Benishek's office as well, and there is a lot of potential for just a commissioner to help get funding together, and I'm willing to take on that. So I'm going to work with both of the leaders' offices to look at funding. But I have been told by both the representative and senator's offices that without local matching dollars, it is virtually impossible for us to get federal funding.
Which is why I heard the same thing you did from Senator Peters, and which is why I want to sit down with the city commission and say, okay, here we go.
If hypothetically we were able to gather some local dollars, we could maybe open ourselves up for granting opportunities that we wouldn't have had before when we were trying to match it with others. And there isn't a real opportunity for what's considered local dollars, not in large amounts at least. The Great Lakes Fisheries we looked at, and that is considered local dollars, and their max that I saw was $250,000, which unfortunately, as wonderful as that kind of gift is, it's not the type of dollars that we need to see for a project with the scope that
We are
have.
going to, if we go forward with this, we are going to have to put general fund dollars, and we've known this, Sonny and I have known this for many years. We are going to have to dedicate general fund dollars, but I don't believe we ought to be the only ones.
Nope.
That was not the
Well,
original
my question
intent of
would
the
be with,
agreement.
to anyone, for every dollar we have to put towards a dam removal, what service are you willing to let go, or what staff member are you willing to let go? And when you think about it in those terms, it becomes an awfully insignificant piece of the pie when we have a lot more critical things going on. So anyways, I just wanted you to know that I did that, and I talked to him, and I'm sure he was not excited. I also begged for a FEMA assessment for our area for federal funding.
And I
So
appreciate that very much.
that was fun. I just wanted to update you guys on parks. We had a lot happen in county parks in the last week, so just a quick rundown. The County Parks Commission did approve for me to go forward with looking at funding for a dog park and a new playground location, so that was unanimously approved. We did have a group, the Friends of Easing Pool, which I mentioned before, They came forward asking for part of a match for a Rotary Charities grant, a $5,000 planning grant, for them to get help in forming their 501c3 and a capital funding campaign. Now, I'm not a big fan of that kind of thing at all, because I think, you can build the most wonderful thing in the world, but then, for instance, we got the dams for $1, but, we didn't have any money to operate them or maintain them or remove them.
We got the pool for free.
But, exactly, we got the pool for free, FYI. But at the same time, your County Parks Commission met in a joint meeting with the board of the new YMCA. And the YMCA is very much interested in moving forward on operating our pool. So if you were to mix the potential of YMCA operations, and they're looking at a 5-year agreement, in addition to, or in cooperation with Friends of Easling doing, the new numbers show us a little shy of $500,000 in capital renovations that we need. We now have the first potential for solving our pool crisis that we've had in a while. And this board will certainly be hearing more about it, but the initial steps of that was just allowing the Friends of Easling pool to move forward with this planning grant. YMCA board will be getting back to us in a couple of months. They're working with Chris Erickson. They want to expand their lessons into the Easling pool, and that means using their lifeguards and all of that kind of stuff. So Chris has been working hard on coming up with scenarios on our staff and our and costs, and, well, if you just watch a parks meeting, you'll see where we're at there. The Grand Traverse County Parks and Recreation was the only county department that received not one but 2% tribal grants. We are getting our new security camera for the Civic Center skate park, which is very needed. And we are also got our funding for the Native American marker tree at the park there. All of the junk is being removed around it. It's going to finally have the right fence and sign listing what it is, and it's a very generous donation that helps us also clean up the area around the ball fields and where they keep like chalk and diamond dust and all that stuff. So it's all going to be upgraded, and that's been, we're pretty excited about that. And I think that's it for parks. We're moving forward on our business development plans for the Civic Center, so those are key parts of all of that. Oh, and Power Island had our work crew from the Grand Traverse County Jail today out there, and they did fill in all of the holes. When the trees uprooted, they left behind giant holes where the root balls were. The inmates were brought out there, and they were able to fill all of that, so it's safe for citizens. And the inmates also worked at Maple Bay. So your county parks are now officially cleared, and so thanks to Todd Ritter and Nate Alger and Chris Erickson for that. And as Todd said, no one would turn down being in a park rather than in a cell. So we didn't have any problems with either sergeants to look after them or inmates to volunteer. So so thanks to that. Another little note, maybe a thank you note. Another little note.
All right. Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, and I know this isn't really a committee report, but I do want to thank everybody for Sunday. I think that planning session was very good. One thing that we've mentioned before and came out again at the planning session that we probably need to start trying to tackle is trying to increase our tourist tax somehow. So I think at some point we need to really, we need to.
Senator Schmidt is
He is so
fighting
adamant
us.
against it, but I think we're going to have to compensate for the amount of services we use over the summer for the population increase.
And
it only makes sense.
Thank you for mentioning that, Sunday, because I would like to, this is another letter I need to write. I would like to send a letter to the employees, just highlighting some of the contributions. For instance, John Syke. John Syke helped us tremendously behind the scenes, and he ought to be acknowledged for that. And the county employees ought to know what John Syke did for us behind the scenes. And I would like to highlight some of the positive things that came out of that. If it's all right with you, I will write something and I have it on your desk at Public Health and Safety, and you all can tell me yay or nay.
I'm just smiling because I'm just picturing your hand doing this from all this writing you're going to do.
Yeah, I go like this. I was a junior
told Chris
typist when I was
Erickson
hired
what
at
we
Shell
were
when I
doing
was 19.
outside with the tarp. She had no idea. She's so mad she didn't get a picture. I could have gone with the thank you note.
I gotta tell you, that was
We
just a
could do
hoot.
without that picture.
Dr. Lathrop,
I don't,
Pass.
That
Bob and I don't want that picture, thank you.
I was squished in there.
X-rated.
I gotta tell you, Sonny, Elisa, and I on one little tiny square, that was worth $1 million, I
That
gotta
is
tell you.
fellowship, yes.
We had no idea what we were getting into.
I know.
However, shouldn't we set a date for the
Yes,
next
we
meeting?
should.
Yeah.
I did ask you all to bring your calendars
Oh, for the strategic
We're looking
plan.
at
for the
half a day.
finishing it up,
Do we
for
know
about
when
a half a
Barbara's
day.
available? Do we know when she is available?
Good point.
You know, I didn't ask.
We
I've
need-
been-
we
That's
need-
a
we need
crucial
that piece of
part of it.
information.
All right. I will ask, and then I will email that to you
And then
through Chris Kramer and have Chris Kramer coordinate it.
then
How
by
does that
next week,
sound?
maybe next week, we can set a date for the phase 2 of the
Phase 2.
strategic plan.
Phase
shorter.
2. And-
Smaller tarps.
And ask Barbara, yes, ask Barbara to leave those squares at home.
I took some notes after we left, though, and it's interesting Bob brought that up, because I did make a note about the tourist tax. As we continue on this year, the three things, when I originally started arguing about this idea, it was trail maintenance, roads and bridges, and emergency services. And we're looking at all of those things. They've come up over and over again this year. Why can't we have a meeting with the CBB, or, I'm sorry, what they're called now, the Chamber of Commerce, the Hotel and Motel Association? Why can't we sit down and hear what the concerns are as to why we are, it's so, I mean, you just can't say, it's like Voldemort, don't say tourist tax.
Why is it so bad?
I don't know.
I
So
was
maybe if
told,
we
and
sat down
I honestly don't know whether this is true or not, because, you know, people tell you things because they've heard it over and over again. It's kind of like you can't
Twin
drink at
Lakes
Twin
without
Lakes,
alcohol.
you know? I was told that if you have a Visitors and Convention Bureau, that you cannot have a tourist tax, and I just can't believe that's correct. I really,
We
I
have a tourist
thought-
tax, but it goes to the CBB right now. We do not, we are not
Convention, yeah.
able to assess that for us.
And-
So
but I
they would need
thought
to
it was-
relinquish that.
Yeah,
They couldn't collect the tax until the state law was changed.
Right.
That's
When the
issue.
state law was changed, for years, Grand Traverse County had discussion about a tourist tax. And, you know, for everyone's, you know, for the public's information, I guess I'd say that the argument is made that the 90,000 citizens of Grand Traverse County cannot fund infrastructure to facilitate 450,000
Exactly.
people that are here on 4th of July weekend.
we need help.
You know, we need help financially to help support that infrastructure.
And I'm
we made the
pretty sure
argument
the
for
city
years-
would appreciate
Yeah,
some
and
help,
we've
too.
made the argument for years that we should have a hotel motel tax. We did not qualify under the state's guidelines of who could assess such a thing because of our density and our population and those kind of things. Along came a state law change, which allowed convention and visitor bureaus to assess up to, I believe it's 3%. Well, even though they had fought nonstop against the county allowing it, the moment the late state law changed, Traverse City's Convention and Visitor Bureau assessed that 3%.
Yeah, there is a tourist tax right
And,
now.
There is one.
but all of those proceeds go to them for marketing.
To bring more people
and
to the area.
Don't get me wrong, they do a great
Yes.
job of marketing our
And-
communities.
and
True Michigan
and it's
does a
good for
great,
our
Pure
business, but-
Michigan does a great job
But the
for our system.
infrastructure takes it, I've heard Barbara Boudreaux on the city commission say the infrastructure just takes a beating. And we get no
It just
support.
makes no sense. But according to John Syke, allegedly, with our new census in 2020, Grand Traverse County may be an MCO. And I think MCO is the status for that. I don't think.
Maybe we
Because of the density
maybe we can
changes.
bring enough people in when we have the census so we qualify.
The problem is the MPO, we usually manage to get the number,
Mm-hmm.
but we do not get the density.
Right, the density
is the
change he
piece.
thought we would hit.
And I don't know, they changed the rules too.
Yes, they did.
They changed the rules between the 2010 and the 2020 census. So, and I don't remember exactly what the change was, but I know they changed the
It
rules.
shrunk our area for the density, and it didn't allow us to include our urban townships.
Just
which-
chime in here, Dr. Lathrop.
Well, is this a question for Bob?
Well, we can start. Have John look at it. John Syke.
Yeah.
I mean,
John.
someone's got.
John's not
Someone's
here.
got to know
Yeah,
this
let's
stuff.
pick on John. John's
Tell him
not
to do
here.
it.
Yeah, I mean, someone's got to
Look into
know it.
that,
I mean,
John.
it's knowable.
Yeah, why don't you ask John, and then if he needs us to look at the statutes, then
Yeah,
All right.
we definitely,
We'll ask John.
we definitely need to have an active participation and active discussion in regard to this.
We
We owe
absolutely
that to
do.
the citizens of
Couldn't
our
we have a
community
meeting
because
at
we
least
can't
where we
have it.
sat down and talked
Yes.
about it? And interestingly enough, at our strategic planning session, we indicated
We want to
the
facilitate
less amount
economic
of revenue
development.
was one of our issues. Well,
Yeah.
we're at the cap for taxing, so we need to look to other sources, and visitors could help fund some of the resources that they enjoy.
That they enjoy, yes.
It brings them to
Dr.
our
Johnson.
community.
And I've said it many times, but I have never booked a hotel room based on the amount of tax
Or
I'm
not
paying.
booked a
Look,
hotel
yeah.
room.
Nor have
And
I.
most of them, you don't even see it till you click OK anyway. But, so, you know, that's, you'll hear that argument. It's same as the airlines hear about if you want to increase fees, but they can. But, you know, at some point, we're going to have to get this, I believe. So.
And last year, when I researched it a lot more than I am currently now, I learned about municipalities joining together in tourist taxes. So if you had the argument that, well, I'm not going to stay in Grand Traverse County because, you know, I'm not sure where they're going to go, but let's just say I'll go over the border to Kalkaska or Antrim. When you can join together in 5 or 10 county regions in tourist taxes and then split based on, you know, you come, there's been some success with those rather than single county taxes too.
Okay.
It's just a consideration, but.
All right. If there's nothing else for the good of the cause, no closed session, we stand adjourned.
Good night, John Boy.
Ron, you're the star tonight. Ron's picture is on the Record Eagle.